Hello and welcome to Supernatural Lifeline Revelations. I am your host, TNT, Taryn Tarver, and you know we're always coming up with something great to talk about. Nevertheless, today we're talking about worship, praise, what it does, and we brought an amazing worship leader. We have Miss Laura Ray with us today,
Yes,
so welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, I love the fact that the Lord, people think music is just music, but music can deliver. Music can heal.
Definitely.
Music can set you free. Music can shift your mood in a good way and a bad way.
Yep.
You get the wrong music, and I love in the Bible, it talked about Saul. It said that an evil spirit of the Lord was sent to him, and he calls for the minstrels. He calls for David, and David comes and he begins to play, and the demonic spirit would leave him as he played. And then you see there's other times when people have used music to invoke demonic things as well. And so I really love, I heard a testimony years ago from, I don't know if you remember the guy from Color Me Bad. He told this testimony like he got saved, and he said they had called in this witch doctor into their session to say what they wanted. And they said young girls would lose their virginity all over when they heard the song, I Want to Sex You Up. He said over 100,000 young women said they lost their virginity and were sending letters over, I Want to Sex You Up. And so he gets delivered. He gets saved, and he says he realizes at first that all of his Emmy Awards are all demonic demons. Like, they're in the shape of these demons, and they give them to him. So he has them all in his house, which, you know, that unlocks a lot of demonic things, the presence of demons in their house. But so he starts getting rid of everything that's not of God. So when he's getting rid of these things, all of a sudden there's like one stronghold, and he can't figure out what is this thing that's holding me back. So he goes over to the pastor's friend's house, and they start doing a deliverance session. And he said the face is contorting, and they're having all these things that are manifesting. And finally, this last demon starts laughing and turns into a Joker smile and says, "You'll never figure me out." And so he starts like getting nervous because after a while he's doing everything. I bind you, I rebuke you, I break your assignment, I cancel, oil, water. And like he's doing all this stuff, and it's not budging. And it's laughing at him. And he said he put the arms get like this. Do you know, all of a sudden he starts praying for wisdom from the Holy Spirit. And the Lord says, turn on the worship music. And he said, all of a sudden when he said, to his wife, turn on the worship music, the face started changing into a frown. And he turned it up, blasted. And as the music began to happen and they were worshiping, the demonic spirit screeched out of him because he said, I was played in. This one was played in, so it had to be played out.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, look at the power of praise and worship. So you grew up in the Midwest. You're doing all kinds of things with music. You had a talent as a young kid. You started doing the essence of soul, jazz, gospel, pop, unique things. Your voices, you recognized you had the sound, you had the ability to sing at 5, I believe it was. And so you've come up in this realm. God has really prospered you, blessed you. You've been able to do some talent scout things I saw where you're able to do with Nick Cannon. And also you've been able to minister for the likes of even John Ramirez and some other ministries, now TNT Ministries, as well as Cross TV. So all of these great things you've been able to do, and God has used your gift as well as your talent to now come together. How would you say that your gift and talent, when did they merge and you realize this is a calling of the Lord?
Well, I think, so just a little bit like backstory. Growing up, I grew up in Ohio in a pretty small town, and it was pretty white. The thing that was interesting, I think the things that God puts in us, he puts in us at a very young age. And I remember my dad was just a great representative to me because he always was open to other cultures, even in a small town. And so he still, in his 80s, is going to like juvenile delinquent centers and doing Bible studies with kids. And I even remember he worked with a prison release program, and we had people over for Thanksgiving. So that was kind of like part of my upbringing, even though I came from a small town. Then I went to Taylor University in Indiana. Again, very small town, but then I worked with youth there, and I worked with Youth for Christ. So it was kind of like another one of those mile markers for me. And then I moved to Nashville after, because I was encouraged because of all the different music things I was doing to go to Nashville.
That's definitely there's definitely an anointing there for music.
Yes, for sure. And I was just so fortunate to be part of a church called Strong Tower Bible Church, and their main focus was racial reconciliation. So that was a big deal, being in Franklin, Tennessee, where the Battle of Franklin in the Civil War took place. So it was very interesting to have someone that was super intentional about making sure that all cultures were coming together, all economic places were coming together. We had people from the Tennessee Titans, from the music industry, from the projects. It was like all brought into one church. And it was at that point that I really feel like God really started opening my eyes to that type of calling in my life. And then I was also doing worship as well at that church. And so I was exposed to a lot of musical styles I hadn't been exposed to. Kirk Whalum was who's an amazing jazz saxophone player, has traveled with everybody, was our worship pastor at the time.
Wow, Kirk Whalum? Oh,
yes.
That's awesome.
And I loved him. So like we would have jazz Sunday, we would have hip hop Sunday, we'd have country Sunday, because again, music I think shapes people's worship experiences.
It does.
And so the pastor really wanted to make sure that that was very open to everybody who was coming there. And so then I moved to LA after that really great experience. And again, the whole thing with like youth and inner city ministry and all that stuff was still kind of bubbling up inside of me. And so then I went to this music industry retreat. And so that was like probably one of the biggest mile markers for my life, I feel, because because there was a lot of people in Nashville that were like, I eat, sleep, breathe music. And I was never like that. I love music, but I had so many varied interests. And so it was kind of hard to be like, hey, God, where's my focus in all of this? And so at this retreat, they had us write all our talents in one column and then all our passions in the other column. And the definition of the passion was what keeps you up late talking at night. And what are the things that like are just like burning in you?
Say that again. So the definition of your passion is what keeps you up late at night. You would do it for free. You're always doing it no matter what. You find yourself coming back to it. What's burning inside of you to do. So that's passion.
And you could have a talent and a passion at the same time. Interesting thing, as I was making my list, I had music and talent, but I didn't have it in passion, as much as I loved it. And so
your talent then, for those who are listening saying, I need to do that, explain to them your talent is, I can draw.
You can draw. It could be even encouragement. It could be intercession. It could be ministry things. It could be, all those different things. It could be athletics. It could be all those things, right?
Yes.
And so, so then in my passion column, it was like the homeless and inner city youth and all that stuff. And I was like, that's so interesting. Because I was like, maybe that's why I didn't feel the same as some of my other musician friends. And so that light bulb went on that like, okay, for me to be passionate about music, which I do love, I somehow have to combine the two. And so that was just life-changing for me, that revelation came to me.
So you figured, okay, I have this talent God has given you. Put the music on the talent side.
Yes.
And over here on passion, what did you actually put over there?
I had like all the other things like homelessness, inner city youth, all the other things.
So the things you would love to do were really ministry services to help people.
Yes.
So you're saying, I'm going to combine the music gift God has gave me, and I can help them through maybe a concert. I can help them through teaching classes. So you're trying to figure out how to merge the two together.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the cool thing about that is like, I think what I kind of find is like in kind of growing up in church, we have this thing of like, you have to know your calling, or what is this one calling that you're going to have like for your whole life. And I think what I found in that is like my passions, there was going to be some kind of thread that would be woven through my whole life. It may look different, but it's going to be combined with some of the other talents I have, whether it's encouragement, I'm really good with people, whether it's music, all those things. And so like those are going to be combined somehow.
Yes.
And so the cool thing is when I first moved to LA, I got to be part of this program with Beyond the Bell, who runs all the after-school programs for LA Unified. And I was so fortunate to be able to run one of the biggest talent competitions, I think, in the country for inner city youth. We'd have 3,000 kids come out every year, and it was part of a leadership program that was done within the school district. Oh, wow. And so that was so
when
amazing.
They look for talent, what were they looking for? You could do anything. It's like a talent show, but you're watching. You bring your talent, and then you have these agents looking at them, or how did that work?
Kind of. So, but it was because it was part of a leadership program. Each of the 40 high schools that were involved had to run, market, do the publicity for their own talent show on their own campus. So then all the winners of each category, we had rap, we had spoken word, we had bands, instrumental, singing. All the winners then from each school would come and compete at this final competition.
Kind of fun.
And we're able to do it in conjunction with Paramount Studios, and then Nick Cannon was one of our main hosts that would come out every year. And then we'd have all different types of judges from all different parts of the industry come and judge, and they would have different prizes. We'd have up to $40,000, $50,000 worth of scholarships that would be given away.
Wow.
to kids. Yeah.
How fun.
Yeah, so that was like probably one of my
That would
most
have been a good
favorite
little
things.
talk show, like
Yes.
a reality show.
Yes.
Like showing each little school,
Yes.
and then having the main competition and showing the feelings, the background. Like, I can totally see that.
Yes, yes.
That'd be a good little, that's a pitch.
Yeah, so, and then again, most of these kids have never had lessons, so if it wasn't for after-school programs, they, you know, it's very raw talent, but just some of the amazing kids that would come out of those programs was unbelievable. And so then that kind of part ended, and now I'm kind of more in homelessness. So that's been a new part of my career where I'm now doing more with fundraising and making sure all the people give to the right places.
Oh.
Yeah, and so and again, I just think with all these social issues, especially because of everything coming to light right now in our country,
Yes.
like social issues are definitely something that people are talking about.
Yes.
And I feel like we as Christians and the church really need to get involved, because I think people keep going back to the government. It's not going to happen. It's just not. I've been involved with that way too long, and things are not changing. And, you
We're
know,
supposed to influence them,
yes,
actually.
yes.
And if you really look at the biblically, it was always the prophets. The prophets' anointing is to point them in the right direction. So every time there was a person in authority, the kings
Yes.
always had a prophet in their ear that was guiding them to guide and direct them even against their enemies. And so kings, literally, they appointed the kings. So Samson
Yep.
would come, he appointed Saul. And then he appointed, and he comes and anoints David, you know.
Yeah.
And before that, of course, there were judges, and the judges were going to war with the people. So literally, you had God's hand in the midst of what was going on always. Even when the Nebuchadnezzar and the 3 Hebrew boys were taken off, literally off to Babylon, and Daniel is there, they get put in positions of authority to have the king's ear, to begin to pray, to know what they should and shouldn't do. So I hear people say all the time, Christianity has no place in politics. It's always been in politics.
Yeah.
Constantine, how did we
Yeah.
get to where we are? Because Constantine was in the middle of a battle, and the Lord goes and shows him that if you shows him what to do, he has a vision. Next thing you know, he makes Christianity free, and people can begin to worship God freely, and he funds everything and starts funding churches, even though they kind of went off on their own crusade.
Right,
but,
right.
but it is the history of where things are mended and molded together. It is where God has always been a part of the government. And so we have to find our way back into it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Whether that be through some of the things that you're doing, and music, like you just talked to me about the Echo Park.
Yes.
Like the Christian worship music brought peace there. Now they're doing more than just singing. The police invited them back because the police recognize that we need what you have.
Yes.
You have something we can't access. So now they're doing what? Giveaway for clothing, you said?
Their food and
Food.
clothing, all types of things. For
Every
the homeless.
Sunday.
Every Sunday.
And they're worshiping?
Yep, every Sunday. Yep.
Is there hot food too? They have hot food going?
Yes, I believe so. Depends on what they can get their hands on. for the
That's
week.
great.
Yeah. But I think the interesting thing is too, like I think sometimes even with worship, we kind of feel like it's like either for at home or for the church, you know. And one of the biggest groups of kids I loved were the gang kids, like because they're the ones that kind of seem to be left out. And most of the time, like they don't want to be in those situations. It's really because of circumstances.
Right.
And I remember one of the other girls I work with, she goes, you know, Laura sings. Like, will you come and sing for the guys right now? And I was like, sure. And
Where were
this
they
is
at?
on a school site, on the playground,
So
and
on the playground.
on the handball court.
So are you middle school?
This
are
is
you
high school.
High school.
High school
High
kids.
school?
Yep. Mhm.
And someone says, will you come sing for the guys?
Well, I was actually
kids.
helping coordinate this particular program, so it was another one of my colleagues. She goes,
Okay.
you know, Laura sings. I didn't really kind of share that much. And so they're like, sing for us. And so I just literally sang Amazing Grace in the middle of the grounds, and like, the kids are crying, you know? So that's the thing. I think that the thing is our gifts are irrevocable, and it doesn't matter where you're at. And most of the time, I've been in secular settings for the most part of my career. You know, obviously, God is what drives everything that I do. But I think, you know, sometimes we just don't know those opportunities.
I'm all for the secular, though.
Yeah,
You know why? Because he didn't come for those who are already saved.
Exactly, yep.
And so I believe that with the whole pandemic, we've been pushed out of our four walls, and really the people that do need help, what are we going to do? Minister to each other so we can get
Right.
delivered from more demons that you're
Right.
supposed to be already delivered from? Like,
Exactly.
get more healing? What are we going to do there? No, it's the fact so we can bring others and touch their lives. And so I grew up modeling at the age of like 7. I think Nike picked me up, and then I was Miss Oregon, and I was a track athlete. So in those, whatever arena you're in, that's where you can minister to others
Yes.
to pull them in. And
Yes.
I feel like people got it really twisted, like
Yes.
we're this secluded, you know, like pilgrims supposed to be by ourselves, alone, just praying all day. And then God's like, no, some things require money. Some things require food. Some things require jobs. Like, we have to go get out there to be out from among them and bring them in.
Yeah.
So I like that God is using these other avenues. I like that the church buildings are closed down, that we could actually expand out and grab souls and prophesy and lay hands and heal and set free and deliver people where they know this God that exists and that he cares about them, and he sent a person to help set them free.
Yeah. And I think, too, right now, because of everything, the need is so great. Like, particularly with the schools right now in LA. I just talked to one of my friends who's the assistant superintendent, who's one of my former bosses, and he was saying 1/3 of kids have not been in school since March because no access to internet, no devices, and those are things that we just think, oh, everybody has, right? And then he said that thankfully, they kept some of the schools open to feed people as like food hubs.
That was huge.
Yeah, and he said
most people didn't realize that some of these kids are only getting fed at breakfast at school and lunch.
Yep.
And they go home and there's no food. And they're sneaking their food home so that they can eat. And they have no idea. So they had to do something. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of kids starving.
And he said between March and June, they served 15 million meals. So that just tells you the need right now. And then even with homelessness, because that's what I'm in right now, they do homeless counts in our city every year. So 2 years ago, it went up 12%. A year, again, right before the pandemic, it went up another 12%. Family homelessness went up 45%. And right now, they said African Americans have 4 times the chance to be homeless than any other race in our city. So that's very telling to me. And I'm very concerned about that. And I just feel like that just shows the need in our city and like why our resources not going where they're supposed to go. I spent a lot of time in South LA. I spent a lot of time in East LA. There's amazing, amazing people there. And I think people need to know that, and people need to be supporting those families there.
Wow.
So anyway, I just feel like I want to bring that message to people because I think sometimes people don't know what to do sometimes in these times. And I think, again, like the schools are such a great resource because you could call any school, especially in a more low-income area, and they will know the families that need food right now. They will know the families that need clothing or resources or whatever it is, And I think people are trying to do as best they can. But like even right now with our homeless families, we had 40 families that lost jobs and only 1 can return to work because they don't have childcare. And those are just like things that people don't even think about. So now people are having to decide between, do I educate my child or do I go back to work? No one should ever be put in that position.
It is huge.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and at one point, people were like, they thought they were saying that you couldn't even bring tutors in because of and I'm like, how can they tell you what you can and can't bring in your house? Like, I mean, it has been very difficult. Like with the kids getting up, getting on the computer, they're out of their routine. They don't feel like they have to sit down. And my son's laying in his bed doing his homework and watching it. I was like, I think you should be at your desk. I'm not feeling you laying in the bed. And I think I need you at your desk.
Yeah.
And the more we try, we're realizing that we have to do something else because the kids I don't know what the testing or if they can even do testing. Or how you can really see they're not turning things in. There's a lot of problems they're going to have to fix. This is, we'll see how long this goes on.
But I'm so thankful that we do know God is in control of all of this. And I think, too, that's where, like, all of us come in, whether it's our talent of prophesying or casting out demons or worshiping, because all those things are very needed right now. And
all of it.
Yeah, not even in our city, but just across the country,
So what do you have next coming up? What are your plans? What do you want to do?
Well, I feel like I'm kind of in a transition period again, and I just feel like this is one of those times where I think there's going to be a shift in my life, and I feel like the music part's coming more to the front again, just because of opportunities that are coming up. But we'll see what God has, and I'm just
God's
open to.
bringing them every day to you now.
Yes, and I'm very open to whatever that is right now.
Great.
And I'm just so thankful to be able to sit here and speak with you.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Do you ever do any training sessions?
Not so much right now, but I have done that in the past. Yeah, I have in the past.
Because I was looking at you training. So I saw some training.
Okay.
And I saw some opportunities, not just with you training worship leaders, but I saw people who don't have the experience that want to get into it, and I see you training some people in the future, almost like it's like, I don't know why too. I see they look like they're younger people. and just have a passion for it, but that God elevating you in some areas of training people.
Well, that's interesting because what I'm now seeing, and this is very interesting too, because a lot of the times the kids that were in our after-school programs, they did really well. And then there was a big gap, I think, in that 18 to 25-year-old age group, because I think what happens is now some of our kids get back in those toxic environments in their families.
Yes.
They no longer have the support of their school. And so I've seen a lot of the kids that I've worked with that like are not doing very well now. And I think maybe that's what you're seeing. And because I've been really thinking about that a lot too for that age group particularly. Like they need that accountability. They need people
that they passion.
Yes.
They need to have something they're passionate about. When children have something they're passionate about, there's nothing you can take from them.
Yeah.
I actually moved out of my parents' house when I was like 16 years old, but they already gave me a passion. So my passion drove me.
Yes.
Like I was good at running track.
Yep.
They gave us athletics. I knew that you had to have education in order to go to college. So education had to be important so that I could actually go to practice. So even though I moved out, I still kept a job, but nobody had to tell me get up and go to school every morning. I needed to get to college.
Yeah.
My ticket to get to college and to get it paid for, you already gave it to me,
Yes.
is my athletics. So I was
Yes.
a track runner, and it drove me to everything. It paid for my education. It opened up doors and opportunities. I was able to get scholarships. I was able to be in places I never would be. It was a door opener. But I loved doing track and field. It was athletics was that thing. And if I didn't have it during that time, I don't know what as a person I would have been or become. So it's very important for us, like you were doing the talent scouts and those things, give them hope when life is gloomy around them, when your parent is an alcoholic, when there's abuse in the home, when no one knows that you're going to bed starving every single night. Like these are crazy things. You have to be able to have something that's going to push you and drive you into your future. And I really see that God is going to provide like a platform for you to bring hope. Like he says, I'll give you hope for your future.
Yes, yes.
It's a scripture as I'm getting right now. You're going to give them hope. You're a hope dealer.
Oh, I love that.
You're dealing hope to them.
Yeah,
and you're like totally giving them hope, and you're able to also, God said that you have a knack for seeing their talent when they can't even see it.
Yeah.
And you've been able to point it out to them,
Yes.
and they're like, wait, what? And you are encouraging them, and you have a very strong gift of encouragement.
Yes.
And so you've been able to like give them, and I don't know if you've known, maybe you have, but I see especially two people in general, that you literally kept them and from even committing suicide because you used your gift and you were able to inspire. And this is why you're this multicultural person. This is why it doesn't matter if they're black, Asian, white, gangbanger, homeless, rich. You can put you in any environment because God can know you're going to do this job of encouraging, and you're going to see the good. You don't see that glass is half empty. You see it as full. And the Lord said this will take you very far in the next 3 years. And I saw some type of grant funding even coming to or something. And even though you're working for somebody else, I see some type of program that you're going to develop. And I don't know if you've already written it down. That's something you kind of like you tossed it around one day, and it keeps kind of like get on the back burner, and then it keeps kind of coming back up in you a little bit. It seems like it's a lot. It's going to be funded, and God's going to actually allow an opportunity for you to be able to do your main purpose that's on this way.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's something that definitely God has had on my heart for sure. Yeah, and I just want to share an exciting story too. So I think a lot of times whenever you're doing work of encouraging or ministry, sometimes you don't get to see the fruit. A lot of times, like especially if you're praying over someone, you don't know if you're going to get to hear the story, you know? And so just a couple weeks ago, I got a text from one of the girls that was in my leadership program, and she's like, I just got into Harvard Law School. So I was just like so excited because that's like what, that needs to be like few and far between, but I think that needs to be more. We need to see more of those kids being able to have those opportunities, you know?
This.
Yeah, so I was just super, super excited, and it's like, well, it's one of those things you're like, okay, everything I've done has been worth it.
You planted that seed, God wanted it, now the increase.
Yes.
You know, I'll tell you like something similar to that is I used to go into these prisons. I don't remember how I started going into prisons, and they would let me I would bring pamphlets for them, and I would have them start doing business plans and different things. So they would get out, and I would go to the halfway homes and visit them, and they had homework, and we'd help them get a job. So they wanted to have a young lady have an abortion. She didn't take the abortion. So I get this phone call from someone that saw me or heard me, said, will you take the baby?
Wow.
And I was like, now I'm looking, my baby is 6 weeks old at this time, and I already have 5 kids. So I'm thinking like,
wow.
Okay, yes, we'll take the baby, but let me see if I can get it placed in one of my ministry,
Right.
Women of Noble Character Women. So one of the ladies, Olga, said she'll take the baby. We all were child support. We're sitting in our money. We got diapers. We're babysitting. And then when the mother gets out, we got her a job at Cedar Sinai. We got her, helped her get a house. We helped her get established. And one of the girls around that times too, she came to see me, and she wrote me a letter, and I didn't even see it for like a year. It was already in my inbox. She said, "You gave me a Coach purse, and it did everything for me because you said everybody deserves to have nice things." And she told me how her life had been transitioning,
Wow.
how she had been blessed, how God worked in miracles. But we are the ones to bring the hope to
Yes,
them
definitely.
and inspiration,
Definitely.
and just say something
Yeah.
that they will never leave their heart,
Yeah.
and it produces the fruit of Jesus Christ.
For sure. For
I
sure.
love
Yeah.
this.
And I just want to kind of bring a little light. So I also sit on the board of another organization called the Outcast Academy, and they're a dance academy kind of in South LA. One of my good friends is the CEO, but they do just amazing work with kids, high school kids mostly, with dance, and then they also incorporate leadership in it as well, and just amazing things going on.
Love
So
dance.
that's just another great organization to check out if you want to
Do they
support
do like
something.
praise dance and hip hop and
They
modern
don't do
jazz,
as much
ballet?
of the praise, only just because it's more in secular school environment.
yeah.
So the girl who runs it is like an amazing crumper and hip hop dancer.
Oh.
So they have some amazing.
One of my friends, he's the founder of the Crumps.
No way.
Yeah, you should have him come over there.
We definitely need to do
And
that.
now it's funny, he's a wrestler, and he's a Christian wrestler, so he has this big cross on. He came and sat right there, and he had on these boots up to here, and he's got these shields. So he's on the movie Rise,
Okay.
and they were the founder of the Crump movement. So we
No
could,
way.
yes,
Yeah, we
I would
definitely
love
need
to
to
help.
connect, for sure.
And just get a visitation, have him come over, teach him some Crump stuff,
Yes.
and whatever.
Yeah.
I like this. I
Yeah.
love it. Oh, well, definitely. What was the name of the organization?
It's called Outcast Academy, but it's OUTKAST. Outcast Academy.
Outcast Academy.
Yeah, and it's they just do amazing work.
Well,
for
we
sure.
are dealing hope,
Yeah.
bringing love, restoration,
Yes.
and love the fact that the Lord can see the good in anything that you are doing and where you're at. And we love that the Lord takes the terrible things and makes them beautiful. He
Yes.
gives you beauty for ashes, joy where there's been mourning. And I love that He's touching the hearts of people to touch other people now, and God has something great for you to do. So definitely connect. Thank you so much,
thank
Laura. I'm
you
so
for
glad you were
having me.
on.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to follow her, Laura Ray, and it's RAE Music, and that's going to be on Instagram, Laura Ray Music. Definitely follow her and connect with her ministry. This is really awesome, and her life, she's got some good things going for outreach. I love it,
Yes.
and that's what we should be doing, outreaching the world right now.
Yes.
So I am Prophetess TNT, Taryn Nicole Tarver. We're throwing out this awesome lifeline where you can find hope, transition, transformation, coaches, mentors, and Lord can do mighty things through you and with you and by you and for you. We thank God for you. Prophetess TNT, have a great day. God bless.